Hello world, my name is ALewis, and this is my video about my learning manifesto. And I just want to give myself a brief introduction. Once again, my name is Lewis. I am a certified ELR teacher with the state of Texas, and I have been teaching for 3 years. I've been teaching seventh grade English. I'm certified for grades 4 through 8. And as part of the enhancing of my career, I am part of Lamar's Digital Leadership and Learning Master's Degree Program. This is my first class, first semester, so I'm very excited to be in the program and to get started and to get the knowledge that I need to grow in my career field as well as receive my master's so I can go ahead and enhance my future learners. So, once again, this is a video about my learning manifesto, and I'm going to be addressing 4 components throughout this video. So, first one, we're going to talk about the a reflection that I have in regards to and connection that I have with my learning manifesto. So, with a manifesto, it is a proclamation, a declaration, or opinion of how you feel. So, this is mine. My learning manifesto is that as an educator, it is my role to give knowledge to my students, but not only knowledge to get them up to their next grade level, but to also model and show them things that are going to be useful to many facets of their life and also to many different subjects and things that they are exposed to. Um, I don't want them to only just be able to know where to put a right comma, the comma in the right place in order to get into the 8th grade. Um, so not only do I teach them how to read for comprehension, but I give them the skill of how to take facts and information and piece them together and to come up with conclusions, as well as to think critically, go beyond the surface of what you see and think about take different backgrounds and different information and think critically about what this person is saying or about what you want to say, as well as, like I said, I don't teach just how to write essays or how to be grammatically correct, but I teach them how to convey their thoughts and ideas in a way in which anyone can understand them and that anyone would also want to listen. I think sometimes it's unfortunate that some of our young people don't know how to say what they want to say. It is my job to make sure that they can in any arena, not just in my classroom. So, what I am truly passionate about in regards to that is that I want to help students who've been counted out from the beginning. Um, One of the biggest reasons that I decided to go ahead and be a teacher was because that I wanted to help minority students, African Americans, Latino students, um, in a sense of how to communicate with the world. A lot of times we're prejudged on how we speak, what we say, and as a communications major, with the emphasis in radio, TV, broadcasting, and also in journalism, I wanted to give opportunities to students that they may not have from home or that may not have been exposed to earlier. Um, I want to give them the information to where that they can um, be better and be proud of being better and know that they can do better. It is my job to help create global citizens who can contribute to society in a positive way, not just people that we push on the conveyor belt. Okay, they're graduated. Now they're in the world. I want to create citizens who have positive effects on our world as well. And and with that, one of the things that I see that's emerging is the breaking in of digital learning, digital devices, and having that being part of the curriculum. And there are some issues that come along with that on a state, regional, national, and even a global level. I'm in the state of Texas, And according to TEA, the Texas Education Agency, our state has 132 T-STEM academies as of 2017-2018 school year. So that tells me that the state is recognizing that having that type of focus within the curriculum is important. But what comes along with T-STEM is that you not only get classes that are more science, technology, engineering, and mathematical focused, but you get technology for every subject. I taught English, however, every one of my students had accessibility to a laptop. I don't teach anything mathematical, but yet we could use the laptops in order to work on certain aspects within my curriculum. So that was awesome where I was. And I also believe an issue that's coming up on the state level is that our state institutions, our public schools, are not necessarily preparing our future teachers on how to use technology with their students once they get in the classroom. I did some research and I looked at my alma mater, Stephen F. Austin State University, to see what type of technology classes did they offer. And what I saw was that they offered a secondary certification in technology applications for grades 8 through 12, but I did not see anything where we saw actual courses for teachers that focused on technology in the classroom. Um, and that's unfortunate. We're seeing now in more than corporation of technology to have a slew of teachers who go out into the workforce and yet they don't know how to incorporate that into a classroom. It's gonna leave them at a disadvantage and also have them at a learning curve that's gonna be it's gonna take a time for them to catch up with. Um, I will say this on a national level, some universities are creating these types of programs. At the Illinois College of Education, they created a program called Delta, and that's the Digital Ecologies and Learning Laboratories. And they have a program called Ideal that was created in the fall of 2015. And according to their website and also their YouTube page, what it does is that it gives students interdisciplinary exposure to how new technology can be incorporated in a classroom. So, how you use mobile devices, how those can be used to solve academic problems, and how they can be utilized by students to think beyond just their basic curriculum and exposes those future teachers to that. So, once they get out in the workforce, they're more marketable. Whereas we have some teachers who don't have that training, that's a professional development or some other classes that they would have to attend, whereas they could have came in already with that knowledge and maybe some type of e-portfolio to show that they know what they're doing. But I see that as a trend moving on a national level, and it's going to have to, especially if we're going to compete globally. More and more, we're becoming more interconnected from countries and people all across the globe. So in order to become a viable candidate or viable competitor with these other countries to sustain our position, we have to be on top of the digital learning game. A lot of countries, China, Japan, they're already exposing their students to technology from almost birth. They're getting those things in not just a sense of entertainment, but in a sense of learning, education. So by the time that they hit high school, they have something tangible that shows that they have the experience, they've done it, and they have a resume to show for it. And we are going to have to do the same thing in order to get that, to hold our place and hold our spot, and to make sure that our students are where they need to be in order to to compete globally. So that leads me into thinking about the question of what is right with education and what is wrong with education, and what can we do in order to enhance it or to fix it. So let me go first with what I feel is right with education. I feel that what is right with education is that it is still the ultimate equalizer through all of the funding issues, economic, racial, all of the things that go on within a district. Education is still the ultimate equalizer. Um, since integration of our schools, that has been something that we've seen as an increaser and as something that allows us to move away from certain problems. There are plenty of people who have changed their circumstances and the circumstances of their communities and their families through education. That is something that is proven. I will also say I've also observed somewhat of a reemergence of passionate teachers. um, I'm a young teacher. This is only my third year here, and I've ran into plenty of people, teachers, administrators that who are only there because of the check, of the benefits, of because this is just that their job is. And I would say throughout my 3 years, I've also met the people and seen an emergence of more passion, people who actually want to be there and to help these learners and to help these students. And it's refreshing. It feels like as if your push and your drive is legitimate and that you're not in this alone and that our students are not just going to get it from me, they're going to get it from everybody. So the likelihood of our students being successful is going to be much, much, much higher than if it was just maybe one person here or one person there. Um, I will say it's inspiring, and I hope our students be are influenced and inspired through seeing us as educators do that. Now, what's wrong with education? Now, even though education is the ultimate equalizer, the quality of education is different. It differs due to economic circumstances, um, racial divides, things of that nature. They are still very obvious um, that the quality of education is reserved for certain people in certain communities. The district that I moved from to the district that I'm in now, there's probably maybe a 10 to 15-mile radius between the two. And it's definitely a big difference in the quality of what the student is getting in the sense of not even just like with the teachers, because there's passionate teachers everywhere, but in the sense of what the district is bringing, the building, the supplies, the things that we expose our students to. Um, we may not think it, but if a school building is raggedy and ran down, this is a lot to students about their value. If their community is not supportive of the school, this is a lot to students about their value. And we have to change that. That's what I feel is wrong with education because it's not just in the classroom, it's a whole community effort that we have to get into. Also, I feel that traditional school, what we know is the sense of what school is not working anymore. According to Seth Godin's video, Stop Killing Our Kids' Dreams, he said that school was created to create obedience in people. And that seems to be very true. He told about the story how the factories needed to get people out of the agriculture sense, off the farms, get into the mind frame of I can sit here, follow rules, and do this for so many hours a day. If they can develop that for 10 to 12 years, once they graduate, they can definitely do it on a job and earn money. Um, that is no longer working for our students. Jobs like that don't exist anymore. They do, but it's not working. It's not what fuels our society anymore. We're no longer in the industrial age. We are part of the digital age. And our education system needs to reflect that. Um, that doesn't work anymore. Also, guidance suggested that the purpose of school has to change in order for our students to be prepared to compete globally and what's out there. Um, those tangible skills are not as valued anymore. They're needed, but they're not as valued anymore. So we have to incorporate that in our curriculum in my education system. So what I believe what can be done to fix or enhance it, once again, change the purpose for school. Also, I believe that every student should graduate from high school with some type of skill as well as a resume or e-portfolio with experience to show that they have done this before. And to be honest with you, that can be a tangible vocational skill, um, welding, framework, um, computer repair, things of that nature, graphics, anything like that. People still are going to have to use their hands. However, something digital is going to be involved in every type of occupation. And we have to prepare our students for that. You can't work on a car in a mechanic shop without being able to get into the computer and look up parts and also see a draw outline of the car and figure out which part goes here and there. So we have to expose our students to that and also be able to have them present something to the world that shows that they have done it. When you set that standard that students have to have those things, you make the student, the district, the parent, and the teacher, all of us, step up and make sure that that student has that and that they're prepared when that's way more something that you can count on than to just make sure that they pass a standardized test for the state. Um, and with that, Godden had 8 suggestions on how to enhance schools and students, but there were 4 that stood out to me. He said, have homework be during the school day and not sit at home. When you send homework at home, the chance of it actually being done goes down. And if a student doesn't understand what's happening at home, there's no way that they can have that addressed then and there. Now, if we had videos that students could access that allows them to go over the skill or the thing that they're working on, then that is something that they can use, but that is also digital. But if we have where we can have students put in those skills to practice during the day, and then we can take care of those mistakes or those issues and those questions during the day, that would be much more beneficial than to send them away and just hope that they do it on their own because that's not the world that we live in anymore. Um, we have to have school be more precise and focused and customized. We have to customize schools for students. I will say some high schools are doing it. My brother attends a high school where you talk to the counselor at the beginning, like as a freshman, and you tell them what you're interested in, and they have certain programs for that. But think about if you're a junior and you decide you don't want to do that anymore. My brother's a senior. He decided that he wanted to move from graphic design to veterinary science. His counselor told him he couldn't take one course in veterinary science because that strays from his track plan from his freshman year. How detrimental that could be to my brother's future. Now, when he graduates, he is going to go ahead and pursue veterinary science and veterinary medicine, but those students who may not have that will or have those opportunities, that's devastating. That could be life altering almost. So we had to be able to work and customize to make sure that our students are number one and we provide for them. Third is that we measure experience over test scores. We get too caught up in data, I feel, especially our administrators, and it's not really their fault. They have pressure um, that that you know brings that on, but we have too much focus on test scores and data rather than what the student can actually do once they walk out that schoolhouse. We had to be able to know that they're able to support themselves and actually do what they need to do in order to be a contributor to society. And lastly, teach kids to think outside of the box and to not be afraid to. Um, it is kind of a difficult concept to teach people how to think, but if you give them exercises and give them rigor and give them scenarios where they have to think outside and have to think of ways to solve problems, that's going to come. And they have to be creative in solving those problems. No problem was solved one way. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Um, And that leads into Giovanni Carraz's TED Talk, Creative Thinking: How to Get Out of the Box and Generate Ideas. Um, he said that we, as educators, we must encourage students to be creative thinkers and to think outside the box. And really, we have to realize that there is no box. Honestly, the box is something that we've created. And so, in order to advance or enhance in what we're trying to do, we have to realize that there is no box. And our opportunities are infinite. What we can think about and our ideas are infinite. We must also ask ourselves the question, why? When you move from a what to a why, you start to go into what's called higher order thinking. Higher order thinking allows you not only to identify and remember things, but you start to look into the purpose and the reasoning for things. And we have to get our students to do that as well as our teachers. We have to teach them to do that as well so they can model for that. Um, so those add to ways that we can solve the problems and incorporate that digital learning into helping solve those problems. And some of the core beliefs that I have about digital learning is that it is going to be the new standard for learning in school. It's going to be the new standard for teaching in school. Um, my first 2 years in my first district, I had students who were well, my first year, they didn't have laptops. My second year, every student had accessibility to a laptop, and it was one of the best things for me as a teacher, and I felt for those students being able to access certain skills or teaks that maybe was hard for them to understand in a regular classroom setting. They were able to get that through a computer program. Also, I had Google Classroom set up, and they were doing something every single week where it was a skill that usually a lot of seventh graders struggle with. Being exposed to it every week and getting that feedback on it and growing and also getting the support in class, it no longer became a struggle. It became something that by the time January hit, it was something that they were strong in and they were confident in, and they were able to approach it in that way as well. So, digital learning allowed me and allowed for my students to have those experiences. Tangible skills are still important for learners, but in order for learners to really get what they need that digital aspect because it allows them to connect with other people. It allows them to collaborate with other people around the world. It allows them to be creators and not just regurgitate what somebody's giving them, but to also be authentic in what they bring out there to the world. It allows them to be contributors to society. And as we see, students have to have that exposure to digital applications at the beginning. When you go to restaurants now, you don't see young children coloring books anymore. You don't see them doing crossword puzzles. They're on phones and tablets. So they already have this skill and knowledge of how to do it. It would be less of us as educators, as adults, to not take something that we see that they already know how to do and apply it to education. It would be that would be a big opportunity for us to miss if we didn't take advantage of that. Also, most school districts are seeing the need for technology. Michael Fuller in his video talked about how a lot of districts now are hiring CIOs, chief information officers, and these are people who know about digital applications. They know about the use of digital information in a classroom and they want to learn how to use those and apply it to every curriculum, all types of curriculum. And that's very important. We need those types of people as our world is shifting. Um, Now, I will say there are basic skills that students still have to have. I'm an English teacher, so I'm always going to go for reading and writing. Um, the actual physical writing and having a signature and having to write an essay and use a physical resource. But we, as a digital age is coming forth and it's not stopping anytime soon, we can combine that along with what we have. It doesn't have to go away, but it is something that we can have as a foundation along with whatever we have coming in with our digital age. Um, As I said before, I moved from a STEM district to a non-STEM district, and there is a big difference in the students um, in their knowledge of materials, a difference in their enthusiasm for school and the material, as well as um, their work ethic. I've seen a difference in all three between those students. And the district I came from was is considered more economically disadvantaged than the one that I'm currently am teaching. And it's just it's eye-opening to see the difference between the two. When students are not enthusiastic about the material, they give less effort. Now, middle schoolers, preteens, effort in school is already something we struggle with. But when we don't have something that makes them want to work for it or something that gets them excited, there's no way we're gonna get that back. So we have to do that. Digital learning helps students and it allows them to enhance not only the student skills but the teacher skills, and it allows me as an educator to reach students different learning styles. Some are auditory, some are kinesthetic, some are visionary. With technology, I can reach all kinds of students almost instantaneously than having to wait on data, having to wait on test results. I can see that within maybe 2 weeks after, working things, and then I can apply the new knowledge of what I need to do through my digital applications for my students. Now, the impact of my organization, I hope that through what I learned that my district would eventually become STEM and that there's a bigger focus on digital learning where every classroom is one to one. Every teacher can incorporate some type of digital application at least once a week into the classroom. And maybe that could be their homework or maybe that can be their extra practice. Something where we incorporate what they're already doing and make that connection in education. We have to make that connection in order for our students to be successful. So I hope to be a part of that with my district as well as through any other places that I find myself throughout my career in education. So that was my learning manifesto. Once again, my name is ALewis, and I hope that I was able to give you some great insight and some great information of what I believe should be done. So, world, I'll see you next time. Good evening.